What's up everyone, and welcome to my review of Star Wars The Clone Wars Season 7. It's absolutely crazy to believe that this is officially the end of such an amazing show, and I think this final season really displayed a true passion for the franchise, and it really felt like the end of the Skywalker saga, unlike
Rey Skywalker.
You make me sick to my stomach. But today, I'm here to talk about the whole season and just share my overall thoughts on all of it. But before we get into the story arcs, I want to talk about a few small things, starting with the animation. And as you can tell right away, this is a major step in the right direction. I mean, it looks very cinematic for a TV show, and I think this is the treatment that it deserved for its send-off. The movements are fluid, the shots are beautiful, and they don't have those emotionless faces like they did in that stupid movie they made. So this show came out when I was 8 years old, and I loved it when I was growing up, but I stopped watching around the time Maul came in. So in preparation for this season, I binged this show, and during some of the Season 1 episodes, I thought my vision was failing me, and oh my god, what is this? I mean, seriously, how did they let this slide back then? The models look like the unfinished clips we were getting for the episodes in Season 7, and they look like melting plastic. But thankfully, it kept on changing as the seasons went by and just consistently got better and better, and I'm so glad that the animation got to end off with such a cinematic feel. I think that's a major win. So next up, I want to talk about the score just a little bit, and as a musician, I'm always interested in the scores for movies and TV shows, and the composer, Kevin Kiner, didn't disappoint. Each piece really drove the action forward and made you sit at the edge of your seat in anticipation, wondering what would happen next. Especially during the Siege of Mandalore, but we'll touch on that later. And finally, some of the voice acting. James Arnold Taylor, Matt Lanter, Ashley Eckstein, and Dee Bradley Baker. Thank you for blessing this series with your amazing talent. And after 12 years of doing these characters, you really feel the emotion that they put into these performances, and the personal connections that each actor has with each other. Don't worry, Sam Witwer, I didn't forget about you. His inclusion was just as welcoming as the rest of the cast with his sinister Maul voice and his emotion-filled performance. I think that he truly captured the evil of Darth Maul perfectly, and while I do adore the amazing lightsaber and stunt work of Ray Park, Witwer really captures that internal battle that Maul is having in the best way. So now let's get into the arcs.
They call themselves the Bad Batch.
Alright, so the Bad Batch. So I'll start by saying right away that I was super excited to see the Clone Wars return, just like everyone else. But after the first episode of this, I didn't really keep up each Friday to see what happened, unfortunately. It's not to say that the arc was terrible or anything, but there will be room for that in a second. But I just wasn't as invested as I thought I would be. And don't get me wrong, Rex is an amazing character and I love him to death. And as a matter of fact, he's the one that made me believe that clones aren't just soulless creations from Kamino, that they are actually people we can feel for. I was also very surprised that this whole arc was centered around finding ARC Trooper Echo. And I honestly don't mind that Echo was dead. I think his sacrifice was earned during the attack on the Citadel in that one arc. But anyway, while I didn't get invested in this arc, I did like the action-packed adventure that was on display. And I thought the chemistry between the Bad Batch worked very well, with my favorite character being Wrecker.
I've got a present for you, Wrecker.
Oh, seriously? I'm gonna blow it up? The whole stinking thing?
Oh, you wonderful hunk of muscle, you. And yes, we all know about the infamous scene that was cut out, but come on, are you really that surprised that they went this route? Regardless, I think that this arc was perfect for reintroducing us to the Clone Wars. And now, we get to the exciting return of Ahsoka arc, what I was personally waiting for the most out of Season 7.
I'm Trace. Ahsoka.
Okay, yeah, so this arc is pretty crap if I'm being honest. Much like the last arc, I wasn't really invested in this one, but this one really took it down to a new low. And even though I wasn't invested in the Bad Batch, I was still looking forward to watching some fun Star Wars action and banter when I got around to watching it. But with this...
Are you crazy? I could have shot you. You gotta be kidding me. We came to rescue you. No, I was on my way to break you two out. This way. No, this way.
Disney, you seriously gave us 4 episodes of this? Obviously, I really liked finally seeing Ahsoka return, as she is one of my favorite Star Wars characters from the series. And she was what got me excited for this season to begin with. I also enjoyed seeing her struggle to admit to the two sisters that she used to be a Jedi, and even later figuring out for herself what the Jedi really fight for and what they have become. Honestly, I don't really know what the hell they were thinking. I didn't want to see Ahsoka return just to run into these two annoying sisters where they just bicker about transporting spice and how the Jedi are cruel. I really didn't feel like I was watching the Clone Wars during this arc. It felt more like some bad reality show set in space. If we had an arc where the focus was just on Ahsoka and we got to see her dealing with her own struggles of leaving the Jedi Order, instead of just going on a random side quest caused by two idiots, this would have been much better. But all we got was filler in the end, in my opinion. But hey, look, there's Anakin, so I guess that's something. Regardless, I was glad to see Ahsoka return, but this arc just left a sour taste in my mouth. And finally, we get to go into the good arc.
Execute Order 66.
Yes, Lord Sidious.
When I turned on this episode for the first time, I was filled with excitement, ready to know what was going to happen. And I finally knew we were in Revenge of the Sith, which happens to be my favorite Star Wars movie, and I couldn't have been happier. So once I saw that classic Lucasfilm logo, I got chills knowing that something great was about to happen. And then, the music hit.
This is where the fun begins.
The classic Star Wars theme, which basically told us that we were watching Revenge of the Sith finally, from a different point of view. That was an emotional moment for me. And just from those first shots of seeing Grievous, the Jedi victims about to meet their demise, and the heavenly Obi-Wan in the smoke, it was just jaw-dropping. From start to finish, it really felt like you were watching a movie and not the Clone Wars TV show. And it was blatantly obvious that the team really put their sweat into making sure this arc was perfect. From the cinematic shots, the epic score, the well-written story, and even getting Ray Park to return as Maul for mocap work. I mean, it can't get better than that. I also heard about a petition that was going around hoping that they would release this arc uncut as a movie, and I would totally be down for that. I mean, imagine if we got The Siege of Mandalore as the Star Wars Clone Wars movie instead of the one all the way back to when this whole series started. Now, when it comes to this arc, I felt emotional during every single moment, with some being Anakin and Ahsoka's final reunion before Vader was born, the clones painting their helmets in honor of their commander who they've worked with for so many years, and Order 66. Every time I see it in Revenge of the Sith, it makes me cry every time, and it even brought a tear to my eye watching it here again from a different point of view. And it broke my heart to watch it again in the show with Rex, who we've stuck with for so long, actually turn on Ahsoka and hesitate to do so along with a tear in his eye. And obviously I've heard some people complain, wondering how Ahsoka could defend herself in the assault while the other Jedi could hardly hold their own in the movie. To those Jedi, it came as a surprise with hardly any preparation for what was about to happen to them, while Ahsoka got the time to figure out what was going on. And come on, she's been through a lot throughout this show. She's got this. And if I were to complain about one thing during Order 66, it would probably be leaving Anakin out during the whole thing, and even the arc itself. But I am a little biased since Anakin is my favorite character in Star Wars. But this is the moment where Vader was born, and maybe just a little bit of him would have been awesome to see. But yeah, Ahsoka is the main character of this whole series, and I'm not going to argue with what was given, because it was still amazing to watch. Now, what I was curious to see in this arc is how exactly they tie in the events of Revenge of the Sith with the events of the show, and now it all makes sense. Now we will always know why Anakin and Obi-Wan relate to the Battle of Coruscant. Now we will always know where Rex and Ahsoka were during Revenge of the Sith, and they did a fantastic job with all of that. And I think the biggest thing that was displayed in this arc was character development, especially from Ahsoka. From the beginning, we all remember her being that annoying Padawan that no one got around to liking.
I just saved your life!
But through many episodes of trials and tribulations, she has matured and become a much wiser Jedi, which we eventually see in Rebels. I still have to finish that show, by the way. And Rian Johnson, you should have been taking your damn notes. Let's talk about Maul a little bit too. I'm so glad that the series brought him back and fleshed him out to be this complex villain instead of just the random Sith apprentice we saw in Phantom Menace and get brutally chopped in half. He truly deserved this amount of depth, and it's a shame that a TV show did a much better job at bringing back a villain that actually worked than a movie that couldn't even make the Master of the Sith work at all. And thank God this series gave him a hallway scene. This was absolutely brutal, and I couldn't believe how brutal it was. I mean, compared to the other stuff we've seen in the Clone Wars, it was violent, but not like this. I mean, holy crap. There's people getting chopped in half, decapitations, and even arms getting chopped off. I mean, oh my god. And with all that, I think it's safe to say that Maul is finally redeemed in Star Wars. The final episode of this was just as much a roller coaster as the previous ones, and while not as good as the other three in my opinion, I think it was a perfect way in showing what happened to Rex, Maul, and Ahsoka, and how they end up in Rebels. I also love the Clone Squad confronting Rex and Ahsoka, and with Rex saying that he won't kill his own brothers, despite them dying later, but it was absolutely gut-wrenching to hear. And seeing all the graves with the helmets of each clone, including Jesse, that was very beautiful to see. And that final shot with Vader in front of the crashed Republic ship, along with all the clones' helmets, and the discovery of Ahsoka's lightsaber, was very emotional and well executed. And I think it was a perfect end to an amazing show. So all I can say is thank you, Dave Filoni, for bringing us some of the best Star Wars content we could have asked for. It really brings me a sense of hope knowing that so much passion was put into this project, and I'm hoping that more passion can be put into future Star Wars projects. I really don't want this to feel like the end of such a great franchise, because it truly was something special to watch. And hopefully we can get another passion-filled project just like this. And that's it for my review. I plan on doing more reviews on this channel for movies and such, and doing some rankings in the future. I mean, these are some weird times that we're living in at the moment, but I've been taking the time to watch a bunch of movies that I would like to talk about on this channel very soon. Once again, this channel is getting a rebranding, but on that note, if you enjoyed the video, I'd appreciate it if you would give this video a like and subscribe, so that you don't miss another review. Hope you all have a good one, and may the Force be with you.